Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about designers and utility classes in CSS. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, are utility classes in CSS just a way to cut designers out of the process? Well, uh, I wouldn't say, I wouldn't go that far, but yes, it is. The utility classes in CSS is a way for you to reduce the amount of design work that you need, and also in the same solution find a way to be more consistent. And that might not sound like it's a good thing for the designer, but it actually is. I would go as far as to say that that is the goal of all CSS frameworks. It doesn't even have to be a CSS framework, it can just be a graphical language, a UI framework, as we like to call it at my company. And I think that every single company, without any exceptions, should strive to build a UI language for the products that they are building. And the reason is because it's so grossly ineffective to not have it. The amount of time waste that you're gonna have if you don't do this is enormous. It's absolutely enormous because I've worked in companies where we haven't had this, and if you think about it, it's not really just a benefit for the developers here. It's actually a benefit for the designer as well. It's not about cutting people out. It's not about designers not being able to affect the development of the UI. It's actually about getting things to be more efficient and standardizing things. You see, if you are a UI designer, imagine like if you're not working as a professional, you might think that what you're going to do for every single story is to create all of these amazing new experiences. It's going to be radical innovation. It's going to be all of this great stuff. And sure, sometimes that is what you're doing, but a lot of the times you're basically just tweaking something that already exists, or you're redrawing that dialog box that you've drawn 100 times before in maybe a slightly different way. And in some cases, you're basically spending more time, and I've seen this happen before. You're spending more time just recreating the same page from scratch every single time, just to show something that everybody kind of already knows what it looks like. But you have to do this because you're gonna, as I said, tweak it a little bit or do something different, or like a new sort of new concept. But it's not like a complete from scratch type of thing, right? And if you think about that, how much time would you save? And the really good designers, they can do this, and they use clever systems like symbols and molecules and atoms. They have a system for doing this so that they don't have to sit and hand draw like with a lot of errors, because that's something. Oh, we have so many issues. I've never been in a project ever where this hasn't been an issue, where a designer kind of free, like just wants to do something quickly. In their mind, it's going to be the same thing as something else they made, and all of a sudden the developer looks at this thing that they made and they have made a few mistakes here. The font is different, or something's just off. They just forgot about something or made a mistake in the design. And although they intend for this to be the exact same thing as something else, now the developer sees, oh, this is not the exact same thing as this thing over here. And instead of having a conversation, because it's fucking tedious to go back and forth in this process all the time and just figure out what is it that you want me to make, they're just going to go, yeah, I'm going to make a one-off solution here because this is slightly different. And you get a lot of permutations and duplications of the same sort of code and same components. I was in a project where we had 9 implementations of the same tooltip. I'm not even kidding. 9. By the end of when I stopped working at that company, we had 11. 11 implementations of the same tooltip. It looked like identical, but there were 11 instances in different areas of the code where there was like a slight difference, like a font was different, and because it wasn't identical, the stupid developers, well, they kind of just, yeah, this is a new thing, right? So figuring out a system for this will actually not only guarantee that the design, well, at least help with the consistency, because if you have a system where you know that you just agree that this is the thing that we're all using, we're going to use this in all our artboards and all the designs that we're making, and you're going to just basically copy paste these styles for these base components, and that's it. You can get that consistency. On the other another plus side is that the time it takes you to make these, because you're going to do so, as a designer, you're going to make so many. You're going to make so many artboards that look identical every single week, every single month, and the only thing that is different on the UI is, oh, there's going to be a box here, or you're going to change some text there. Imagine if you already have a bunch of standard components and templates where you can just drag and drop together all this boilerplate boring stuff that you've already made, instead of having to redraw it from scratch. You're going to save hours at the very least. So having utility classes and CSS frameworks, or at the very least something as like a design system where you standardize your classes and your styling and so forth, is not about cutting a person out of that process. It is about creating a contract between the person who comes up with the ideas, the designer, and the implementer, the developer, so that they are aligned. Because ideally you would have them in the same person, but since we can't always do that, we need to get to the next best thing, and that is that we have the same vision of what is going to be delivered. So what I want you to take away from this is that I think that it doesn't have to be utility classes in CSS. It can be whatever style that works for you. But having an agreement between the designers and the developers on how to do work, how to produce UI components, creating variables or standard colors, or a design system, if that makes sense, is probably the most important investment any company can make into their UI work. If you can only do one single improvement, this is the thing that you should do. Unfortunately, it's also extremely hard to do this, because in order for you to be able to do this, you need to have everybody aligned. Like, the designers have to accept that you have to decide what a standard thing of something is going to be, and very few designers like that, because a lot of designers like the freedom in sometimes it's very nice to have the freedom to just hack something together completely custom and just have that go over to the developers and they're just going to solve it, because that's going to make your day easier. And sometimes it's nice to just have a library of standard stuff that you can just drag and drop together and then tweak some stuff and then you're done. And a lot of designers, at least the ones that I've worked with, they kind of want to have their cake and eat it at the same time. But it is usually the best thing for everybody if you can decide on a standard thing, because in the long run, it is the thing that is going to be the most scalable. Have a great day.